kind of read a lot into the Tick, though. Like, I think he's homeless.
The Tick was very big.
The Tick was a story about multiple superheroes.
The Tick was trying to find his way to be a hero with anyone that would listen to him.
Hello, everybody,
Well
and
said.
welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to.
But you still can.
Oh, yeah. Today, you may have guessed, we are doing the 1990s Saturday morning cartoon, The Tick. The first episode is entitled The Tick versus the Idea Men. And this month, we are doing Saturday morning cartoons all month long. It's going to be your favorite month of all time until the next month. It's going to be a lot of fun. Look who's here. It is Sci-Fi guy, Andre Cotman. What's up, Andre?
Hey, everybody. What's up? What's up?
And of course, you know, we've got occasional Star Trek science advisor and vice provost and dean at Duke University. That was a toughie, Dr. Muhammad Noor.
Hello, always a pleasure to be on Falling Towers. Watch the first of things, especially with Andre.
Hell yeah. My name is Ryan T. Husk, and sometimes I occasionally mix and match Dean versus Duke. They're almost the same word to me.
Let's start with the D. It's fair. 4 letters.
So look, everybody, please make sure you like this video. Please make sure you are subscribed to this channel. If you're listening in, please give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the comedic stylings of Dr. Muhammad Noor as we review The Tick.
The Tick.
Where do we go from here, Dr. Noor?
Oh, now's Ryan's favorite part of the show, the Predictaments, where we each predict what each other thought of the show after watching it without giving away whether we liked it or how much.
Oh, right. This is the sneaky part, but it is my favorite. It's absolutely my favorite because Dr. Noor and I have known each other pretty well for a few years. Andre Cotman and I have known each other pretty well for a good 7-8 years or something like that.
Long time. Yep.
Dr. Noor and Andre, you guys kind of don't know each other terribly well, but enough. So we like to predict.
I know he's awesome.
We might be able to guess.
You.
Oh, shoot. You guys don't know each other that well then. Anyway, so let's make our predictaments right now. Muhammad, I predict you are lukewarm on this. I think that you liked that it's light in nature, but that, you know, and you liked that it was harmless kind of humor. But I don't know if you're over the moon about it. I think you're okay. Andre, I think you are fairly high on this one. I think you loved that it poked fun at the superhero genre. And I think you will be wildly interested to at least check out another couple episodes. I think you may have not seen it before, actually, come to think of it. Those are my predictions. What about you, Muhammad?
So actually, this is interesting. This is one of the cases where I'm actually more confident on Andre than I am on Ryan. So Andre, I'm pretty confident you like this show. I'm pretty confident you're going to be like, oh, this was funny. I thought you're going to say, you're going to be quite positive. I think you're going to be pretty positive. You like seeing like a diversity of superheroes, and we did get to see like a diversity of superheroes. I'll put quotation marks around superheroes there. I think you'll be like positive. Like I think you'll be positive. Yeah, I think you will have liked it. I don't think it's like your favorite show ever, but I think you will have liked it pretty well. So I'll be optimistic. How about that, Andre? How about you?
I think, Muhammad, I don't think you liked it. I think that you're probably going to view it and be like, what is going on with this? Where's the humor? And then Ryan, I think he's probably going to be a little indifferent. So I'll take the pessimist road on this one. I don't think either of you guys liked it.
Whoa.
Interesting.
All right. So
like
everybody at home, you are the fourth person in this show. Make your predictions now. Do you think I liked this show? Do you think Muhammad liked this show? Do you think Andre liked this show, or at least the first episode, everybody? Let us know your predictions in the live chat, or especially in the comments below. Make your predictions. Let us know what you think. Take your time. No rush. Dr. Noor is going to buy us a little bit of time by telling us what the show is even about.
I will buy you some time. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. Oops, popped up on my screen. Following a successful demonstration of his crime-fighting prowess and ability to withstand an explosion, the Tick is assigned to the city to protect its citizens, a place which curiously hosts a plethora of other awkward superheroes as well. Arthur works in an accounting firm, but is fired because of the odd moth suit he wears to work. Arthur runs into the Tick and is curious about him as a crime fighter. They come across some bank robbers, the Idea Men, who flee via blimp. The Idea Men return and set up a bomb in the city dam, also holding hostages. Amidst many misadventures in the process, including failed rescues by other superheroes, the Tick and Arthur are able to save the dam and save the city.
Excellent. All right, where do we go now? Everybody, you're going to have a little bit more time, but it's about time you start finishing up your predictions, because we're going to start giving you hints as to whether we liked it or not. Right, Dr. Noor?
We are definitely going to do it. This is my favorite part of the show. This is what we call expectations. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on what you might expect, or basically what you expected before you watched the show. Like, what did you think you were going to get? And a lot more time on what you actually got as you watch this show.
Wow.
The reveals. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Muhammad's boxing skills just keep getting better and better. Now I just like sit when he gets ready for him, like, all right, here we go. That's going to be a fun watch.
It's like the reveal's going to hit you over the head. Boom. That's right. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. So, Muhammad, get us started here. What did you expect, if anything, before you watched this first episode?
I don't think I'd ever watched this show before, but I was aware of the Tick in general. Like, I remember that this was sort of a comedic superhero thing, that this was somebody who you can't take too seriously. It's not like Batman or Superman or Iron Man or any of those sort of. I remember he was just kind of ridiculous in a way, but also having nonetheless some powers. In the sense he was really strong. I didn't remember Arthur at all. I was like, first seeing the picture, I was like, who's that other guy who looks like a rabbit? Which was funny since that came up in the show too.
It did.
Yeah, but I didn't know much. I didn't know what to expect from the series, aside from the fact, like I said, I remember it was going to be sort of comedic. I assumed it was going to be at least a little bit silly, if not very silly. So going in. So that's where I started.
By the way, everybody, before we get into what Andre expected, we got to give a shout out to Emu Warrior for suggesting this episode. You pronounce it emu or emu? I've heard both. The bird.
Emu, about the bird. Yeah.
Emu? Okay.
I've heard asking how the person does it. I don't know how the person does it.
Yeah, so Emu Warrior, for suggesting this one. This episode is for you. Actually, real quick, when I was a little kid and I played this game with my friend that lived across the street named Ben at his house. It was like a computer game. And it was one of those things where it's like, you see a book. What do you do? Read it? Or throw it or something. You click that and then you go into the next room. And it was a very simple early video game. And we were like 6 or 7. And I remember when we walk into a room and it says, you see a stuffed emu in the corner. And we're like, what the fuck is an emu? 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 What is that? EMU? A stuffed? We didn't know if it was a food item. We didn't know. Anyway, so anytime I hear that, see that word, I think of that word. We were just forever puzzled. Anyway, Andre, what did you expect, if anything?
I didn't know what to expect. I went into the show early as a kid and saw it then, but I completely blanked on my memory about like what's it about. So this time I watched it brand new. I was expecting to see kind of the purpose of the Tick and what he does, what his motivations are, and I remember it was funny. So, I just wanted to see, like, make me laugh, get to a good plot, and going into it in semi-blank slate.
All right. Interesting. Well, I, for one, here, let me depress all of you real quick. I think this was the favorite show of one of my best friends that passed away a few years back. So what I don't know if I'd ever seen this show. I feel like I saw bits and pieces, but I remember way back in the day, he was always trying to convince me to watch. He was always like, it's actually really good. He loved it. He was always trying, and we would go on like road trips together and had the best of times. Miss the dude. He's amazing. Great guy. But when we were going to watch The Tick, I was like, my friend Nathan Butterfield was always talking about how great this show and how much he loved it. So knowing his personality and what he liked and kind of his style in music and shows and all that, I think this might not necessarily be my show, but I think I'll be able to tell why he enjoyed it. So my prediction was based on him and based on the fact that I'm not sure if I ever watched it. If so, I'd maybe seen bits and pieces like 20 years ago and was like, I don't care about TV. So if anything, I hoped it was good because then I'm going to shit on Nathan's show. He would understand. Anyway, and he would be happy about the way the football season started so far. Anyway, because we were sports, we were like, what's it? We're sports soulmates is what we call it. Because we all like the same sports teams and we would go on like to different cities to watch our team be the bad guy away team against them and be like those two loud people in the corner cheering for the road team.
Travel to follow them. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So, and we made it very clear which team we were rooting for. And it was a lot of fun. And I think we might have won every game we went to.
Wow.
Anyway, so this one's for you as well, Nate. But that's what we expected, everybody. Dr. Muhammad Noor, what did you actually get?
I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of fun. So it was very silly yet fun. It's like if I had to just summarize it in a line, very silly yet fun. I was expecting a little bit more of a backstory than we got. Like we got no backstory on the Tick aside from just this assignment. And they're like, why does he have superpowers? And we got no backstory on that. Nor did we especially get an explanation for why Arthur wears the moth suit. But I mean, it was a little bit of one, but not a very complete one. Still, I mean, at least it was a good backstory in terms of like why did they come together. Plot was a little chaotic, but it was fast moving. So in that sense, it kept my attention quite well, and I actually was enjoying the ride. I probably would have preferred if a little bit more of what we saw in the episode was actually advancing the plot rather than just totally random offshoot silly. But yeah, I didn't mind it too much. Now I will say, this is something that leads to the discussion for later on. I can imagine the Tick's persona getting old if I had to watch a lot of it. Like for this 20-some minutes, it was fine. It was funny, stuff like that. But I imagine like if I binged this show, I think I would hate it like within a few hours. I'd be like, okay, no, I'm done with this. So that's I'll stop there. That's a good starting point, I think, for opening the conversation.
There are people in the live chat right now that are donating big money to get you to watch 3 seasons straight right now, Muhammad. I can see they're like, whatever it takes for us to see Muhammad lose his mind after the 4th season. But anyway.
I'll pay. I'll pay. I would love to see you like binge and give your feedback after the first season to be like, if he evolved, I'll watch it with you.
Yeah. Wait, watch it with you and make it a positive. So I'll take that.
Okay, cool.
I'll bounce out the Tick.
Thank you.
Well, what did you think? What did you actually get when watching The Big Tick?
Okay, so as a kid, I really liked this show. Like, I loved this show going into it. It was always funny. I caught every week. I was like, he's doing cool superhero stuff. Now I'm like, how the heck did I love this show? This show is all over. This show is all over the map. I mean, like the Tick himself is an absolute airhead. He's nearly destructible, but he's so blissfully unaware of anything. I'm with Muhammad. I think it would drive me up the wall after a while. And Arthur is something else to unpack. I really think he has a thing for the suit. Because he, like one of the quotables he said, he was like, ever since I found this suit, I felt these needs. I mean, I don't think this is a show for kids, but I like the show that like, it's a show that doesn't take itself really too seriously because like, even with the Tick, the one of the villains was like jiving at him. He was like, wait a minute, you can't be a Tick. Like the Ticks are arachnids and have 8 legs. And he's like, do you suck blood? And the Tick was like, yeah. And I was like, I suck blood. And so the guy's like, one, and then Tick goes, I want a demonstration. And then that freaks him out. And I laugh because it was like, the fact that it's so ridiculous, like the show knows it's ridiculous, I think is kind of what makes it work. But I read into like
a right there too.
Yeah. I kind of read a lot into the Tick though. Like I think he's homeless because like he literally went to Arthur's apartment and was like, "We can make this a headquarters." And Arthur was looking like, "No, Claire, I live here." And I never saw him have a lair. Anyway, there's a lot to unpack. I didn't like it as much as I used to, but I could see the appeal as to why it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Great summary.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, here's what I got, everybody. This guy has obvious big tick energy. You know, he's large, muscly, hard-bodied. So, you know, in a nutshell, it was pretty low for me while I was watching it. And then it ramped up considerably at the end because, as Muhammad guessed, or stated, because it's no longer a guess, I do like seeing a diversity of superheroes. I always feel like that's always the most fun and creative part about these superhero shows is you got to come up with new and interesting strengths and weaknesses and superpowers and personality types. And it's the most fun thing in the world, but it's also something where it's like after 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 characters, you might start to run out of ideas. You got to be super creative and you got to kind of map it out so that they're not stepping on each other's toes as far as what type they are. And then they were making fun of them kind of like Mystery Men, the movie back in the day with Doug Jones in it, by the way.
Oh.
So when we saw that towards the end, because in the beginning and middle, I was thinking there need to be more superheroes. This is boring. This is dumb. You know, I would have thought that they could do more. They introduced like 1 or 2. And I started to get a little excited, and then they stopped. But then later they added a few more. So I got a little bit more excited, kind of like the Venture Brothers. So it did ramp up for me towards the end. Still not great, not over the moon about it. But let's just get into, you guys, who was your favorite of the other superhero characters besides Arthur and Big Tick Energy?
Oh, like American Made and all
Yeah, that was so rude. That was the rudest one. The world's most patriotic domestic, he called her.
That was amazing.
Bipolar Bear has to be mine. I mean, I was like, the superheroes floored me. Human Bullet, I was laughing so hard at some of the superheroes they were throwing in.
Yeah.
Big Shot, we kept on making everything to a skull. Oh my gosh. I didn't even write them all down. They were so crazy.
And then the idea, man, you literally couldn't hear anything they were saying with those masks on the whole time. That was funny.
Yeah.
I love when he was like, enunciate.
Yeah. Even the reporter lady was, pointing that out, where she's like, unfortunately, we can't understand what their demands are. Those silly
and their
masks.
demands, they literally only did it because they just didn't want to work anymore. Like they wanted to quit their 9-to-5s. I related to that. It was so funny.
I think that was actually the highlight of the episode for me when the Tick says, I don't remember where it was. He says, there it is. He just basically says, hey, what's the big idea? What are you guys doing? And the idea man says, we thought we'd steal a lot of money and then we'd be rich and we wouldn't have to work anymore. And then the Tick's like, you cads. Like, that's such a shocking, it's like,
right.
That's the most obvious. So that was, to me, if the whole episode was that smart, because that is, it's that kind of dumb smart.
That was
where it's
good.
like, you're so smart that you can make it dumb and it works. Mm-hmm. If the whole show had been that kind of humor, it'd be like an 8 or a 9 for me. It would be like really high. Maybe the rest of the show will, I don't know, but that was, to me, was the highlight, was that moment.
Similar to that, the comment that Arthur's boss said, we find this rampant individuality disturbing.
Yes. I picked right up on that. Yep. And that, like, Arthur's wearing the suit is kind of a metaphor for like knowing he's meant for something different. So I saw that 2 ways. It could be like super strange that he said it, but I also saw like, I get it, man. Like, you're not meant for that life. You're not meant for it. It was great.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you guys if you have ever been, probably Muhammad, if you guys have ever been fired for dress code for what you were wearing.
I've certainly been, my dress code has been commented upon, but I've never been fired for it.
Really? Like what are you?
Oh yeah, all the time. People are
to
always
say?
teasing me about like the fact that I always go to even now in a fairly high level position at the university, I still always like have t-shirt and shorts and stuff like that. People are like, really?
Yeah.
What? It's casual weekday.
Yeah, exactly. It's casual every day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You guys have any I was just kind of fascinated by that dress code thing. Have you guys ever dealt with any seemingly inappropriate dress codes?
I have a story on that.
Oh, perfect. Because I feel like those are everywhere.
This is one I didn't handle very well. So there was a student who worked in my lab, and she always wore these like super short shorts and cut off t-shirts and stuff like that. And she was going to this professional conference. And what I should have said is dress professionally, right? But instead I said is when you go, please dress nice. And I just left it at that. And she went with this like hot red dress and high heels. Like, oh my God, that is
Dress
not at
nice.
all.
Just look nice, honey. Get your reddest lipstick.
Oh my gosh. I literally got, I wasn't in the conference. People would email me like, what's up with your student? Like, oh my God. Which, to her credit, she can do whatever she wants, but like, it's good in settings like that to basically know at least what the norms are. And I don't feel like I explained to her what those norms are. So she could make a conscious decision whether she wanted to go outside that norm or not. So that was on me.
Yeah. So when you said dress nice, she probably thought you meant like for a gala or a ball.
Exactly.
Not
at
like
all
club.
what I meant. Yeah.
Or night out.
Club.
Yeah.
I had one where the only thing I can think of is for me when I was in a high-end restaurant and I got hired for that, and they told me to shave my goatee. I had a goatee, and they're like, oh, you have to shave. I'm like, you don't allow, and they said no facial hair. The only thing you're permitted to have is just a mustache. And I was like, sir, I'd rather die. But they said, but yeah, they made me shave they hired me first, and then they're like, oh, by the way, you can't. And I actually considered saying never mind then, just because I was just like, if you guys are going to be busting my chops for having a goatee, and maybe I should have, because I worked there a few years and it was a pain in the ass. But anyway, Andre, it sounded like you were about to say something too.
I was going to say they didn't like your Mirror Universe goatee. I think they were concerned you'd probably kill the manager and move up. It's legitimate concern. So in corporate, there was just one time where this lady was leading a meeting, and it looked like she wore exactly what she went to the club in the last night. And so she came into work the next day, clubbed out, and ran the meeting. And I just sat there like, you must have had really a lot of fun last. Okay. All right. Okay. So there's an old adage that says don't wear club wear to your corporate job the next day, but I guess it, do you.
That sounds super fun. Just like literally clubbing all night so that you just show up, you're like,
come to work.
She's just thinking, you know what? They're just going to have to deal with it. I look good in this outfit. I'm still comfortable. I don't, there's only so much time in a day. I'm coming to work. And if they got a problem, then they can see me after.
Yeah. Otherwise, in my corporate job, I'll wear t-shirts on Zoom calls, and most people do the same thing. It seems like it's relaxed a lot more nowadays, which is good.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was just a fun little item. But did you guys have any highlights for this episode or lowlights?
Any lowlights? I mean, we hit some of the highlights that I liked.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you please.
I was like, sometimes I feel like it was a little bit of a Pooh and Piglet relationship between the two of them, and that was kind of annoying. Like, but I think maybe that'll change in the first, next episodes when Arthur actually grows a spine. But I don't know. But it's like, that was a little bit of annoying, but like all of the jokes, to the tick and about the superheroes were funny to me. I think the low light was just the fact that does the tick ever not be an airhead? And I don't know. Like, I like a cohesive plot. I didn't get much out of the plot.
Here's an interesting question for a biologist, just off topic real quick.
He's not a tick.
Do moths have spines?
No.
Because the way their body's shaped seems like they don't.
No, they don't have spines.
Interesting. So maybe
Just
that's
insects. Yeah.
Maybe he'll never grow a spine.
I thought he was a bunny too at first, and the fact that they addressed that and he said it's not a bunny, I laughed. That was
No, me
great.
too. Me too.
Yeah, yeah.
The beginning, that when the tick was in that what was it, the National Super Institute. I love that he said he had the deadliest engine of destruction 1974 had to offer. I was like, oh, was 20 years old even at the time this came out. Okay.
Yeah.
The comment about like you should shield with your dessert menus just in case. Like, what?
That was funny.
That was funny.
Comedy is in details. Like, if somebody's joke is like, and he's just sitting there eating cereal. Okay, whatever, might be funny. But if they say he's just sitting there eating his Frosted Flakes, that, the little detail usually makes it a little bit more colorful and funny. And they had a few of those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention the chameleon person who couldn't do plaid.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was funny. I can't do plaid.
Yeah.
There was one low light for me I can think of, and that was that the tick's body color kept changing. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I didn't notice.
Interesting.
But it was almost like certain people were in charge of certain angles of shots. Mm-hmm. And so they colored it totally differently. So usually when it was like a far away shot or an over the shoulder shot or an angled shot, he was a light turquoise color. Actually, he was a light turquoise. And then when it showed him head on, then he was very clearly like a blue or dark blue. It was like constant. Like first it happened just in one scene about midway through, and then it happened a bunch more times later. And it was a very different color, and I was very upset. I wasn't mad, but I was disappointed.
Maybe he's like one of those paintings that looks different depending on which angle you look at him from.
Like that. Or maybe he matches the mood.
Yeah, I had a question. Did the idea men actually get caught? So we saw them parachute down, and then that was like the end. Like, wait, did they like get caught? Did they just run away? What happened to them?
They lived to fight another day.
I don't know. I never caught an actual resolution on what happened to them.
Speaking of which, here's a question for Andre and Muhammad here, because you guys both understand science pretty well, and physics, I'd say. If you have a bomb that is set up to destroy a dam, and instead of it being at the foot of the dam, you just have the bomb, like 5 feet above the dam, will the dam then not be impacted at all in any way or damaged?
Absolutely not. It would totally be down. Well, so I mean, what I thought at first was maybe like somehow like his arms were blocking it, but at that point, then his arms should be slammed down just as hard. So I mean, it wouldn't really matter if something was, even if obviously his arms can't shield it, but if they could, it still wouldn't matter.
The tick is virtually indestructible because the physics of that bomb, he should have been blown back, or depending on how big the bomb is. But I thought it's pretty cool. And when the tick runs, I mean, he destroys everything. So something is going on with how big he is. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh yeah, he broke so many roofs there, jumping all over the place. Oh my gosh. Maybe
he could just absorb the bomb blast or something and not be moved.
Well, they did a good job of explaining that he won't be damaged by the bomb earlier in the 1974 thing, which was cool. That's a smart little thing that they added there. Good, that worked. But I was like, shouldn't at least the top of the dam be damaged a little bit or cracked?
Just by him being shoved down, something else.
Yeah, that's true. See, terrible show. Terrible. Deflator Mouse. That was Batman.
I couldn't quite tell what that name was. Yeah.
I mean, Flater Mouse has got to be their word for a bat. Because I know in French, it's chauve-souris, which literally just means a bald mouse. So theirs is probably similar to that, mouse being mouse. I don't know. That's my guess, is it just means bat. The bat in German. That's my guess. You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy, but it's...
It's fair. I don't know any German, but fair.
Oh, the last one to mention, I think this might have been Muhammad's favorite of the other superheroes, was Captain Lemming.
Oh my gosh. They just jumped off. Oh my gosh. I did like the kind of like when he was trying to convince Arthur to let that be their headquarters, like, hug your destiny, Arthur. And Arthur's like, I think I'll sleep on it.
Tick is trying to move in.
Yeah.
He's trying to move in.
Totally.
I also thought that Arthur did not have a body that fit his persona, in my opinion. He had the body of, say, like a 30-year-old bro. You know, the guy that used to work out a lot and still does work out, but also like drinks a lot. So he's kind of got like guns and kind of has muscles, but also has like a big belly, you know, and then he like stands in front of the mirror and sucks it in and says, yeah, I still got it, you know, and then in pictures, he's like, whoa, do I really look like that? You know, but that's a very like 30-year-old bro dude kind of body, or sometimes it happens to dude in the 20s. But his personality was definitely not bro dude. So I would have thought that he would either be just, you know, muscle less and fat, or kind of skinny and spindly or something. So I was very disappointed by that.
Skinny would make sense, yeah.
So maybe in his 20s, he just caught the gym a lot and then became a boring accountant.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it.
He eats Cheetos at the desk.
Yep.
He gets orange stuff all over people's taxes. So, speaking of which, everybody, when we're going to talk about smart people, it's time to talk about Andre for a moment, everybody. Andre, this is so cool that you are back on this show.
Last designs too.
Yeah, last time you were here, you did BoJack Horseman with us, and since you liked that one, no spoilers, everybody, but go check out BoJack Horseman. What episode was that? Episode 174 with Andre here.
7.
But since you liked that show, that's kind of why I expected you to maybe like this one. But what's new with you? What's going on? You still working on your project?
My science fiction project is coming along. All the assets are getting imported into Unreal. It's going to be epic when it's ready, and I have tons to show you. Lots of space battles, lots of factions, original, brand new sci-fi world. So pretty much it's all I spend my time doing up here in Vegas. Just sci-fi is the font. Come on and do interviews, talk to awesome people. Yep. That's it.
Do you have a favorite faction, and what are they about, or are you allowed to say yet?
I can't share much of the details yet, but when I do, you'll get the whole download.
Ooh. All right, because Muhammad's quite the faction guy. You're going like this, Muhammad? You got a good question brewing.
Well, I was trying to think of how to phrase the question I was thinking about. Like basically, like what if you were to design, like what new ship designs have you either made or have you been admiring lately? Because I love your ship designs, particularly. You're really good with those. And is there something like that's part of your story too?
Yeah, so like I had to decide how my ships would go to FTL, and there's something called the Alcubierre drive. So if you look on YouTube, NASA is actually looking into like FTL, and it mentions Miguel Alcubierre. He's a real life scientist. Back in 1994, he actually came up with a theory that shows that it's possible to move space. Like, so you can't move faster than the speed of light, but space can move faster than the speed of light. So in my story, humanity figures that out. And is basically starts to spread throughout the galaxy. So, but if you're interested in like real life where science meets fiction, look up the Alcubierre drive. PBS Spacetime has some good examples of that. So some of that real life lore gets incorporated into what I'm doing.
So if you're folding spacetime, does it matter what shape your ship is?
It does. It matters what the shape of the FTL drive is and the energy that's involved. Also, the power systems that get involved. Like, there's a few things like, can you create an artificial quantum singularity? Can you use matter and antimatter? How do you harness that much energy to create antimatter? So all that, I love real physics, and I can't wait to share some stuff with you offline and here online too. But there's a lot of real world like fact and speculation that goes into what's coming. So the shape does matter.
Yeah, what would the design be? I mean, obviously, we tend to think aerodynamically, but this doesn't have anything to do with air, so the aerodynamic doesn't really matter. Oh, is Ryan sharing one of those?
Showing some of Andre's creations here, so everybody that's watching can see that. Anybody that's just listening, where can they find your ArtStation, Andre, so they can just check it out later?
Go to artstation.com/Sci-Fi Dre. And I'm there, and this is one of my designs, the USS Basilisk. It's got 2 warp nacelles on it and a very streamlined / organic hull, because the way that space is manipulated or warped, the shape of the ship absolutely matters because you're pushing on space-time itself. So it's easier when you have like a much more streamlined hull. You can see a lot of my shapes and ships are definitely more streamlined. as compared to some Federation starships because of you can focus that field a little bit better. The story behind this specific ship, the USS Pegasus, is that it's designed with Andorian and human engineers. So it breaks a little bit from Starfleet lineage, but you can see very much like the human design element in it. So some of my new designs, which I'll show you offline because I'm not ready to be shown yet, also incorporate some of the same thinking and how they get to FTL. This is some of my creature design of one of the creatures that will be in the show. And this is just general Star Trek design as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry,
cool.
Mohammed, I think I stepped on one of your questions there. Was he?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
So let me ask you this, Andre. When you're talking about the science aspects, and it seems like you're very interested in making it scientifically realistic. Like you don't, a lot of people, they focus on the story, which is great, or the characters and this and that. And they're like, I'm not going to call anybody out like Star Wars or anything. They're like the physics, don't worry about it. But then there are other shows like, say, The Expanse, where they're trying to make it realistic. They're trying to say, look, we're going as close to, realistic physics as possible. Star Trek did a good job with that and is doing even better of a job lately. So who are your biggest influences when you are creating your sci-fi stuff?
I think you named one. Definitely The Expanse. The creators of that, Ty Frank and Daniel, I forget his last name, but they take into account how ships actually move through space. Like acceleration and deceleration is work. And unless you're using some kind of purely gravity power drive, if you're using some kind of fusion engine or impulse engine, you're going to send a flare that everyone in the system can see. So it takes time to get around. It takes time. The Enterprise has inertial dampeners, which allow them to stop on a dime. But in real life, if you hit the brakes at 8G, you're going to be pressed into the wall or killed. So in my show, we kind of have to take physics into account. It takes time to slow down. It takes time to accelerate. We have some, magic technologies that allows you to do it a little bit quicker. But basically, the second you light your drives, everybody sees you coming. Yep. Awesome. So I love The Expanse, and there's elements of Star Trek and pulling that into real life. But yeah, I got a lot out of that show when I watched it.
Cool. And before we move on, can you tell everybody where they can follow you online?
You can follow me on my Twitter at SaxmanDre. You can also follow me on my ArtStation at artstation.com/Sci-Fi Dre.
Perfect. All right, everybody. It is time. You saw Mohammed showing off his boxing skills. Now he's showing off his karate skills.
Yeah, they're not as good as the boxing, but bottom line.
There it is. The karate chop signals the bottom line. Or as everybody else calls it, the terrible twos. Here they come. Question number 1 is, on a scale of 1 to 10, Dr. Mohammed Noor, what would you give the first episode of The Tick, entitled The Tick versus the Idea Men?
So I bounced around a little bit on this one, but within a small range. But it was somewhere between 7.3 and 7.8. I'm just going to go dead center on it, basically go 7.5. Overall, it was silly, it was ridiculous, but it was a fun ride. Even though it was silly, it was ridiculous, I still found some of the humor kind of smart. I found it appealing. Again, I don't know that I would want to see lots of this, but for the amount I saw, maybe some more. Maybe we'll come back to that in a moment. I was entertained, and I can imagine continuing to be entertained.
What about you, Dr. Dre? Your thoughts? Scale of 1 to 10?
I give a solid 5. I think I did enjoy some of the witty humor in it. If I watched it again, I'd like to see the Tick and Arthur do some pretty thought out stuff. Seems like a lot of it was pretty random, but there was some smart humor in there I really appreciated.
I did mention before that it kind of ramped up at the end there, but let this be a lesson to everybody. With about 5 or 6 or 7 minutes left, I was all ready to start kind of just tuning out and putting my score in. I was ready. I had my decision made, and I was going to say 3.7. I was done. I was like, you know what? I don't need to take any more notes. I got this one. It's a 3.7. I'll keep it on, but I've gotten enough. I know what I've got. I know what I've come into. Then at the end, They really showed the potential for the show. And I wish they I guess they did pepper it in a little bit earlier on, but it did skyrocket up to a 5.6 because of that. So it is now on the plus side because of that was a pretty strong ending. 5.6 for me. Now, question number 2, though, that's the big one. For the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of The Tick, but now that the podcast is over and we're free to move about the internet, Dr. Muhammad Noor, would you of your own volition watch the second episode? You teased it a second ago.
Yeah. If it was just the second, I would. I mean, I realistically probably won't, but I would. Unless I'm doing it with Andre, then I would do it with Andre. I definitely would not watch the whole seasons after. I think it would drive me nuts. But a little bit more would be okay.
Wow, people are donating big time for that though right now, Muhammad. What about you, Andre? Would you watch the second episode of your own volition?
I would watch the second episode of my own volition. Not sure about the season, but we had a watch party. Muhammad, I'd watch it with you. Yeah. Ryan, I'd watch it with you. Yep.
Yeah. Get all 3 of us together.
Yeah.
I'm not watching the second even with you guys.
I mean, getting us all 3 together would be great, but we could find better things to do than watching The Tick.
Watching The Tick, yeah.
We would be like, all right, we're finally together. Let's watch The Tick. That would be such a ripoff.
Right.
Yeah, I would not watch the second episode. I would not be opposed to it. And if you guys were watching it, I would watch it with you. If my late great friend Nate, the late great Nate Butterfield were there, I would gladly watch every single episode 5 times over with him. But on my own, without any reason to do it, no, I would not. I wouldn't hate it. Not, I'm not mad. But it's no from me. That's it, everybody. It's been a lot of fun. Please make sure you make your suggestions like Emu Warrior did in the comments below. And let us know, what Saturday morning cartoons would you like us to review? Or what shows would you like us to review in the future? Just type WTF and the show, as well as where we can stream it. Like Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, whatever. Let us know and we will do it. Andre's already making suggestions. He says WTF Exo Squad. I don't know.
I wish I actually trade. Do we have tick stories? Like actual tick stories?
Only of ticks I had to pull off my dogs in the East Coast years ago. There's a lot of ticks there. Sure.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a tick on me, but I remember being.
Wow.
No, I don't think I ever had one. But
I've had so many on me.
But I remember my mom checking to make sure that I didn't once when I was a kid, once or twice running through the
worst.
You have, Muhammad?
Oh, all the time. I mean, we live right by forests, so yeah, there's ticks everywhere out here.
Ticks everywhere in the East Coast. I had to pull them off my dog. I had to pull them off my socks. Like you never wanted to go just in shorts or barefoot because they're all over. Yeah,
I've seen them crawling on me before, but they didn't have their head buried in me.
Oh no, I've had that. I had one embedded in my underarm when I was in college, and literally, it took like 2 people pulling it out. They tie this little string around it and tried to pull it out that way because they wanted to make sure the head came out too.
Right, because otherwise the head just breaks off.
Yeah.
So those were valid questions that superhero had. They were like, wait a minute, do you suck blood? Like, what are you doing?
There you go.
Why are you the tick? It's funny.
Well, everybody, thanks for the fun. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating if you're listening in, and make sure to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like, comment below. And we will see you next week with more fun. What I'm trying to say is this podcast had big tick energy. Let's use it again. Whatever. I liked it.
This podcast was blood-sucking fun.
This podcast is insert tick analogy here. I couldn't think of one.
Insert tick here. All right, everybody. Thanks very much. And remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg always likes to say.
Don't forget to be an organ donor, and don't forget to watch The First of Things.
All right, freeze frame like your favorite superhero other than the Tick or Arthur. I didn't have one. I forgot to decide.